Welcome everyone to this Q&A session at the Movies That Matters Festival about the movie Dying to Divorce. You have all watched this great movie and we're now going to talk with the makers of it. My name is Süheyla Yalçın and I'm very pleased to be your moderator of today. I would like to give an applause to Chloe Fairweather. Hello, Chloe.
Hello.
And to İpek Bozkurt. And also, first, I want to pay attention to this special moment because this screening is a world premiere, and I would give the word to Margje de Koning, Artistic Director of Movies That Matter.
Dear ladies, I just have to applaud you. A world premiere is such a big thing. And normally, you know, in the Netherlands, we will give you flowers and whatever and talk and celebrate this moment. We have to do it in the digital world. It doesn't mean that I have flowers for you all and we make sure they will come to your homes. And I really applaud you for this film. I think you're very brave ladies, and we at Movies That Matter embrace films like yours, and I hope it will have a long life in festivals. It will be seen by many, many people. There will be a lot of impact, and who knows, it might change slightly a little bit. And I know that films like your films do so. So I am really curious to listen to the Q&A, and I'm also curious, and I will follow you, what will happen to the film through time, and hopefully for the main characters in the film. Back over to you. Celebrate this moment as well on this really highly important film. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you, Margje. I would also like to give the word to executive producer Sinead Kirwan. I would like to invite you.
I'm just the producer. Thank you so much. We're absolutely delighted to be here. It's been a really long journey, and I'm so pleased that Chloe managed to get it to the final pass. And thank you I just want to thank, on this occasion, IPEC for being so patient with us over 5 years making the movie. It's a real honor to be here and do a world premiere. And we hope people like the film, and we hope people have some interesting questions. But just a huge thanks to IPEC and Arzu and Hatice and everyone else who's in the film, but also to Chloe for working so hard, and to Seda and Özge for helping us in Turkey. It's been a long while, but we're extremely pleased to be here. And Chloe really deserves a lot of praise for the hard work she did, and so does IPEC for collaborating with us for so long.
Yeah, amen to that. Thank you, ladies, for your kind words. Thank you. So we would now dive into this conversation about the movie. Chloe, I would like to start with you. Can you take us with you from the moment that the idea popped into your head until you made the decision to hop on the plane and go to Istanbul and make this?
Well, I was actually already in Turkey. I was filming with a journalist called Christina Asquith. We were doing a kind of news piece for something totally different. And she had heard about the work of the We Will Stop Femicide platform, a group of activists, a network across Turkey that supported women against domestic abuse and femicide. And so we just went to kind of check it out on spec, and we followed an activist called Ayşen, who's in the film. The scene is in the film, meeting with Arzu, the woman whose arms and legs were shot at close range by her husband when she tried to leave him. So it was a kind of just a sort of happenstance thing, just, oh, right, we're here in Turkey, let's see what, if there's another story out here. And when we went, we were so shocked by the extremity of what had happened to Arzu. We couldn't, really believe it. I think back in 2015, I suppose there was perhaps this feeling that Turkey was on the road to joining the EU, and to see this kind of level of violence happening in the dark in some ways, or it didn't seem to have, platform or awareness on the international stage. So I think we both felt very moved and quite haunted by the fact that we'd covered this story, but we didn't have an obvious place to put it. And so Christina went and got an article in the New York Times, and I started talking to Sinead about the film and how we could develop it further. And then through that kind of finding out more about the platform, I met İpek. And that was really the starting point. I remember the first time I filmed with İpek, she had so much kind of energy and positivity, so many ideas, solutions. When I first met Arzu, I was just so devastated by the situation. But then meeting İpek was the complete opposite experience. I was like, oh my gosh, there's a women's movement here who are doing things. They've got ideas. They're tackling this problem on every single level. And she also said, which is also in the film, this violence is political. And in some ways that became a kind of thesis for the film, and something that really interested me to explore all the different levels of why this violence was happening.
And how it can still happen and be part. Yeah, İpek, can you tell me something about when you meet Chloe and how did that went? Or did you hesitated to work on the movie, or were you like, yes, let's do this? Can you tell something about what that experience was for you in 2015?
Yes. First, I just would like to say I'm really, really honored and very proud to be talking to everyone, and thank you everyone for watching the movie. And yes, meeting Chloe was interesting. So I was trying to explain what we were doing as this platform, as this We Will Stop Femicides platform. I was trying to explain that. And when you put it in words, what you do, trying to explain what I was doing, what the platform was doing, it really made it very clear on my mind as well. So trying to explain it to someone step by step, it gives you an opportunity to think back and look at your doing, your
your growth also.
Exactly, just like it makes everything clear. So, and I really did want to explain and the cases that we were following, the consequences that we were getting, and the problem as a altogether. I mean, as a general issue. So I was just trying to explain probably at the time, and I still do, and I really believe that all these femicide cases and domestic violence cases that we follow as a platform, as a pro bono lawyer that I'm doing, we try to explain that it's not a single and exclusive criminal case. It's the cases, they merely are part of a systematic violence in Turkey. So the movie, it seemed like an interesting opportunity to reflect this whole systematic issue. It's a very difficult task, as you would appreciate. It's very difficult because you're looking at specific and independent events and cases and developments, and you're trying to put it all together in a way that it makes sense. It's like Chloe was doing basically drawing a map of Turkey for that period of time that she covered. So I think it's very difficult. So I was just trying to help, basically, be the voice that she was looking for. So
yeah. What do you think? Like for me, I'm a Turk from Holland, and I know this is this problem is what you say has to do with something systematic, but also political. But can we say it is a Turkish problem? And as we say that, what do you think? What kind of objects are like adding up to why this can happen? Because to me, I see femicide as like the least, the last step. But before there are many steps. Can you tell something about little microaggressions or something that's in the culture, as you can say, as to try to explain like why does this happen so much in Turkey? Because I cannot wrap my brain around it, no matter how many times I try to. So,
I mean, I would be able to say that violence against women and gender-based violence that as we describe it, discrimination against women, it's not only specific to Turkey. It's, if I say that, I would be being too harsh on this country. It's a global issue. It's a global problem. It's as old as humanity, basically. This discrimination and all these discriminatory issues on gender-based roles and gender-based violence and everything. It's very global. But the difference is that how you tackle with this issue, how you tackle this with this discrimination, how you tackle with domestic violence. If a country's policies, politicians, media, and have a genuine, a sincere agenda to fight and to reflect this fight in their political programs and in their political language, of course you have a tendency to decrease that violence, domestic violence, and then the femicide cases as well. But in Turkey, apparently, we don't have that will. We don't have that political will to do that. What we discussed during the movie was Turkey has been a proud country for having signed the Istanbul Convention. It's an international convention that wants to eliminate domestic violence and violence against women. Turkey has been the first country to sign that, to ratify that international convention, and we are the first country that withdrew its ratification and signature from that international convention.
Yeah, that happened, I think, 19 March of this year. What does that say? Also, maybe Chloe, for you to answer, what does that say about the fortgoing of this problem? Because now it looks like I want to still have that hope, and I hope we can find that somewhere in this conversation too. But what does that say, that Turkey now withdraws from that convention? What does that mean for the women?
It's quite chilling in some respects, because we made that entire film when Turkey was still within the Istanbul Convention and therefore was attempting to comply, although, as İpek will say, never did really comply with the sort of ambition and aims of that convention. So yes, it was a horrible, scary moment when we heard that news, because it just makes it so much harder, and İpek can speak about it so much more, but I still have total faith in the women's movement in Turkey. There is so much energy there, and they're fighting right now continually to make sure everything can be done to make sure that women's rights are protected in Turkey. But yeah, it's shocking. It is hard to get your head around, because it's made something, it's such a difficult situation. Now this has made it so much harder.
Talking about political changes, in the 5 years that you filmed, you have faced a lot of political changes. For example, to start with 2016, the coup. What did that do to your project? You were filming, I think, maybe a couple of months, and then the coup started. We also see images of that in the movie. Can you explain to us what that did to your project?
I think that was the first big shock. And I guess the first time we really understood the changing landscape in Turkey and really saw that things were shifting and changing before our eyes. And, what we thought we were filming was totally going to change. And when I first met İpek, the platform, femicide platform, were lobbying to change the law, and there was like a real momentum and energy, and huge street protests, women out protesting across the country, real unity, solidarity, unbelievable, so optimistic and positive. And then yes, the coup happened, and that was kind of completely blown out the water, and the fight completely changed. The fight began to be to protect more basic rights, human rights, women's rights, democratic freedoms. And yeah, I think from that point on, it was a very unpredictable experience making the film. We didn't know how things were going to unfold. But yeah, we knew that was part of the story, and we knew that, understanding these big changes from the point of view of women was going to be important, and making sure that we were always thinking, these big things are happening here. How do they affect women, even if it's in subtle ways, even if your rights and freedoms are being infringed in a small way or a big way, or, you know, it's a drip, drip, drip type scenario. Things add up. And, you know, in the journey of 5 years, the changes are massive, but day to day, you know, it might not feel as much. So we were just trying to, with İpek's help, keep our eye on all the changes that were happening, that are adding up, and now, you know, are becoming really, really, really visible with the pullout from the Istanbul Convention. That's, yeah.
Because you can say maybe that marginalized groups are also being more in danger when a huge crisis happens, because now a woman is maybe not only having to face her husband hitting her, but also her husband losing his job, and etc. etc. What I also would like to ask is, we see that the marching, the protesting of the women, how are men also involved? Are there good allies like that carry it out also on the ground? İpek, maybe you can tell something about like bystanders of men, and if that's important.
Generally, the 8th of March gatherings in March, it's no men marches, so the gathering does not have men. It's women
restricted, like, or
it's not carved in stone, of course, but I mean, yes, the call is, the invitation is to women and to LGBT communities, LGBT plus communities, and so forth. So women basically say that, well, thank you for the being allies, but give this day to us, so we'll just deal it ourselves and celebrate it in ourselves. And just an interesting note from the movie, for instance, the sections that you saw on the 8th of March, and I'm going to one meeting and to another one, like the night march, as we talk, after the coup d'etat, and it became nearly impossible to have those marches properly. So generally, for people who might know the geography of Istanbul, the march would either start from Taksim Square and up until the end of Beyoğlu, or otherwise from Beyoğlu to Taksim Square. After the coup d'etat, it's always the police security, and women are just like closed up in a very small circle. So it's impossible to move, and they don't end peacefully. And this Miss Clero, she was like 8 months pregnant doing the shooting on that 8th of March. And I was so concerned, not about myself, but about her. And she insisted on coming to that march, and she watched and organized the whole thing from the rooftop of the place, where it was just like packed with security forces, and everything was ended up with the gas raids, and she was pregnant. So that is the ambition that we see in this movie, actually.
Yeah. Wow. Were there many situations where it really was dangerous, like you gave an example now, but were there more situations where it was really dangerous to film?
I think the dangers didn't feel, I think they were sort of, again, this unpredictable one. I think the probably most real danger, of course, after the coup, we had to be very careful about how we filmed in public places. You basically weren't really allowed to kind of do it. You'd always get shut down, but you could still do it if you just kind of were quite careful in the ways in which you
did you have to talk a lot then to make that happen? With some people?
I think we just took the approach of being very sort of compliant, and honestly, we would just sort of say that we were, you know, I was a tourist. It sounds, you know, at a later point when we did a shoot with a final shoot. I did get a filming permit, but then that was only on the grounds of it being a news piece. So we couldn't do that every time. So to make the film, we really had to just kind of, you know, just make careful decisions. A lot of it was quite intimate, shot in people's homes, not really risky. And then there were kind of other risks around 2016. There were a lot of terrorist attacks, which was also something that you can only do so much about. But there were definitely like a few times when we'd been filming somewhere and the next day there'd be some terrorist attack there. So there was a lot of unpredictability, but the actual yes, experience, a lot of it was, you know, filming with the women and with Ipek, and so that was definitely lower risk.
Okay. That's good to hear that you have that safe space from yourself. Talking about that women, we follow two women, Arzu and Kubra. How are their stories also heard nationally? I'm curious about that, and then I would like to ask another question about them.
They're nationally heard because Kubra was a
she was famous, right?
She was a journalist and she was a news character. So yes, her story was heard, and a nationally known journalist wrote their story as well. But it was a bit of a weird way of the way she put it. She popularized it in a way. It wasn't really very useful.
Do you mean that she maybe made it sensational?
Yes, she made it sensational, and she turned it into a love story sort of thing. And the husband comes with the roses. This journalist, I really do not want to utter her name, but she portrayed in such a way that it was just like a mere misunderstanding between the parties. Whereas the husband was basically taking away the kids. So it wasn't that bit of a misunderstanding at all.
Do you think that if another journalist would write the facts, maybe seen as critical, but it's not critical, it's just the facts, that it will be published?
We say that the memory of the Turkish community is very short. It's just like fish memory, we say.
I agree, as a Turk.
Exactly. It's balık hafızası, as you would know in Turkish.
Yeah.
So many things happen in our daily political, economic, and social agenda. You just forget. It's just like things go past in front of your eyes and everything. If someone wrote Kubra's story today, tomorrow it would be forgotten because we would have either a political argument or a big explosion somewhere, or so many people dying, or this and that. So it's always something, I don't know, it's sort of like we're living in this country that has this force majeure all the time. Something bigger comes up the other day. It's just like it never ceases to be unsurprisingly sad. So I'm not even sure whether Kubra's story would even take the agenda of the news for so long.
Yeah, and you said something also interesting now, because you talked about romanticizing really toxic relationships. That's something I would like to pinpoint. You are all filmmakers, and in my opinion, the Turkish film industry it's not in my opinion, it is in fact the second film industry in the world. And in my opinion, the movies almost always go about a love story, but very heteronormative, so man and woman. And then if they are fighting, they really love each other. Like that's the basic. How do you, İpek, you as a Turk living in Istanbul, but also you, Chloe, as a filmmaker, want to contribute to changing that? Because I think that music and film is a big influence in how we think. And if we think that is normal, that someone shouting at you as a girlfriend from boyfriend, then that is okay. I think that's also like an underlying problem of this happening. I'm curious about what your thoughts are about that.
Well, I think what is quite interesting is this sort of crime of passion, which is very, it's actually in lots of narratives across the globe, this idea of, the passionate crime. And you see it kind of play out in a big way in Turkey. I mean, that because men are able to actually use that as an argument and get sentence reductions. So one of the cases that I was aware of when I was filming was and there was just a number of them where a man would be saying, "Oh, well, I thought she was having an affair with another woman, and it was a crime of passion, and that's why I did it." And that, unfortunately, is has been grounds for reductions. So therefore it's become a tactic to actually get a sentence reduction. And it's like really, really common. Even in the film, you can hear Ahmet Arzu's husband saying, oh, she was, cheating on me.
Yeah, it's really, he really believes it himself, that it was right what he did. That's the scary, sickest part. But he can believe it because his whole upgrowing and the society tells him that.
I'm just going to jump in here and say, we also think it's quite important to say that it's not unique to Turkey. We have a big problem in the UK, a massive problem of femicide in the UK.
Yeah.
And quite often, a lot of families have campaigned here to say, why is it always quiet husband murders wife and children? It's always like this guy who's totally gentle and no one ever expects it. And then his wife makes him jealous, so he murders her. And that's always the first story in the newspapers.
Yes.
And it's a massive problem. And then when you look back, you see, oh, he wasn't a nice guy. He terrorized his wife for 30 years.
There were
and finally she tried to leave. And I think it's a thing that's quite universal, really, this issue.
It is really universal, and also it's important to use the right words for it also, because, for example, in Holland, we didn't have the name femicide for something. We called it crime passional. And also like domestic violence and all those, huiselijk geweld, it means in Dutch, and it means house violence, domestic violence, but there's nothing housey in that word. So it's also important to use the right words and say what it is. Yeah, I totally agree on that. And also, like in Holland, also every 8 to 10 days, there's a victim of femicide here as well. And there's hardly written about that. So I hope this movie also contributes to that. We have a question from the audience, a question that is asked a lot. And it's the question about, I would love to know how all the women in the film, so I think they also mean Kubra and Arzu, are doing now. Can you tell something about that?
Yes. We were just talking about that. Kubra is... as you have seen in the movie, there's not extreme developments or anything new. She's still taking the therapies, the speech therapies, and this physical therapy as well. More or less, she's her well-being is more or less resembles the way she is at the end of the movie. And Arzu, her health is maybe declining a little in a sadder manner, because her arms were really harmed in terms of the veins and like she's losing her touch, and she's losing her moving ability a bit. So she's not doing physically that well, but she's a very courageous woman. So she never loses her zest or like that optimism at all. She's fine, but yeah, so they're not very perfect and very.
They go day by day and
convey. Yes.
Yeah. They're very powerful, and indeed, and you as well. İpek, how do you, especially now, what is happening? Also, at the 8th of March, there were 4 trans Kurdish women who were taken into arrest. I have wrote something about that here in the Dutch media. But all those things happening, what gives you hope to start to continue what you do?
I was really upset, to be frank, after this withdrawal from the Istanbul Convention, because it's really an important international legal basis for Turkish women, the women living in Turkey, I should say, not only the Turks, but also with this immensely populated immigrants and like political asylum seekers and everyone. So it's a crowded female community in Turkey, and so I was a bit upset about that. But then we had the screenings of this movie, and on so many different geographies, and I feel so lucky, and it was just like motivational ground for me. I got so many messages, and I was just telling Chloe and Sinead about them as well. It's the empowerment that is among all these women and men and females, everyone. So it just gave me this motivation that even through media, through arts, we support each other in different geographies. So it's really important. It's really important that people say, we support you, and how could we help these women? How could we donate to your platform? How could we get support Arzu's children's education? So it's really important. What we do, yes, maybe I just cannot as a lawyer get all the laws that I support and I draft and everything, but even through art and even talking to you like this in this hour of the night, it connects people, and I always believe in the empowerment of such connection. It gives me the idea that we can do something with each other. We know everyone knows our problems in Turkey and the struggle in Turkey, but also the fight against this dark time. So it's important that this fight is known, and it's important to know that people are supporting you in this struggle. So I think that gives me this optimism. It's the global connection among the communities, I would say.
Yeah. It's very, very nice. Thank you for that. And I totally agree. Chloe, would you add something to that? What does give you hope? Maybe she said it all, but...
Well, I always feel that there's so much hope in the women's stories in the film, just to see how they overcame those existing challenges. Obviously, things have become even more challenging, but seeing their resilience, their strength, the way that they do succeed and have victories and move forward with their lives, I think that was always something I always held really, like, close when making this film over such a long time. It was a bit, we had our challenges in making it, getting funded and so on, but I always thought, well, this is nothing, and look what these women are doing. They're amazing, and they're not giving up, so obviously there's no way we can give up. So I think that that is another,
it's the least that we can do, maybe, what you say. Also, to hop in a question from the audience for you, İpek. Someone is asking, Nada, I hope I say your name right. You're obviously an outspoken person about the current regime. As a lawyer and as an opponent, do you fear for your life? At some point. More so that now the movie came out.
My parents do.
Yeah. And your auntie, your Teza does, right?
Yes, my auntie, my Teza does as well. Yeah. But I always say I'm a lawyer. I support peace. I'm against violence in all forms of violence, and I speak within law. I want to be in the system to be able to criticize the system.
You have to be in the system to fight against it, right?
Exactly. I'm part of this system as a lawyer, as a professional person. I feel like it's my constitutional right and duty to criticize the system for women's rights, and I do it within the system. I appear before the courts to criticize the courts. I take all these women's stories to the courts so that I have the courts to listen to me. And I believe that to be able to talk about women's rights and to be able to contribute to the women's rights, it's impossible to do it without criticizing the system, because it's a male system. It's very, misogyny is everywhere. It's in the political system, it's in the legal system, it's in the educational system and everything. So if you are willing to speak on women's rights, you just have to criticize it. I take it, it's part of the reason why I'm saying that it's a political issue. The violence is very political. The violence has its roots in the system. So I criticize the system. Sometimes am I frightened? Yes, I am sometimes. I would say it would be stupid not to be frightened, but I take my precautions. I try to do the criticism within the legal order and to do it in a legal manner, to say it that way. But I also feel I feel very lucky. I feel very empowered that I'm part of a women's movement and organization. I don't feel alone. If something happens to me, I have so many people that I could call. I have so many clients who support me in a way, and that gives that the feeling of not being lonely. I think it just gives me the motivation and the strength when I'm a bit frightened about everything that goes around me.
Yeah, it's very good to hear that you have such a warm-hearted community around you. Yeah. Also, Sandra asks, she wonders if the two friends of you that were arrested, are they free now or are they still in prison?
Yes, they are free. They are free, but it's just like the state just finds reasons to accuse them for many different occasions. One of them is now in home arrest. So she's got the electronic, how do I get the cable to monitor her home arrest. So we visit her at her place. The other one is free, but they're just working. They're so hardworking women. So the home or the office or the courthouse, it's never nothing can stop them. So yes, they're working.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for asking that. Yeah. What are your last words that you want to say to the audience? And maybe also a question I have. You already said it, but what is like maybe the best way that we all can help politically and from Europe to contribute to a solution or to increase this problem? That's
well, I guess I will just say thank you everyone for watching the film and watching this Q&A and already engaging in the issues and getting that understanding of the things that are happening in Turkey. I think Sinead will give a little bit more detail about the impact campaign that we are formulating as part of this festival, and we're currently doing a pitch for that tomorrow, which is a great opportunity for us as well. And yes, I guess if people want to be involved, we have our website, and we'll be and lots of sort of social media and to follow the journey of the film, and we would love people to do that because we hope to grow a real impact campaign over this year and beyond for the film.
Thank you, Chloe. Sinead.
Yeah, we've got some really great hopes for the film. We were lucky that the film was already broadcast in Germany, which has a really big Turkish diaspora.
Yes.
And we really, really want the film to do screenings in Turkey, with collaborating with the platform, collaborating with İpek, to make sure that it's not just Istanbul, but we can show the film in lots of different cities across Turkey, and really think about how we can support people going to those films, because we understand it will bring up a lot of emotions. So we want to use the film as both as a screening platform for people to sort of see the ideas and engage with some of the political content of the film, but also to really be a benefit to maybe women who are suffering from domestic violence or have suffered from domestic violence. So to really get those screenings to be supported, to have people there who can offer psychological, legal support to women who might feel when they're watching it that lots of issues come up. And we want to kind of take that model and also use it in other countries. So do supported screenings of the movie in lots of different countries for the Turkish community, the Kurdish community, but also just other communities who might be suffering from domestic violence. And please follow us on Instagram. It's a new thing for us, but that's where we're using mostly. And it's just Dying to Divorce film. And yeah, that's our update. And we have a very basic website at the moment. But if you follow us if you search for us on social media and follow us, you can see what we're planning to do. But we really want this film to have a very long life. We think the messages are really, really important. We think that activists need our international solidarity. And they're doing a lot of different things, different social media campaigns, and will be retweeting, republishing their things that they're doing in Turkey as well. So that's what I think. We just want as many people as possible to be inspired by this film to take action in their own countries, but also to show solidarity to the women in Turkey.
And if you do want to actually make contact with us, work with us, or support İpek or the women, or however you want to connect with the film, if you want to contact us directly, then you can contact us via our website, which is dyingtodivorce.com.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it really clear.
Slightly strange website when you set it up, but it's very simple and easy to remember.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. Thank you for that. And İpek, do you have some last words?
Yeah, I mean, I think I as a lawyer, I already spoke a lot, but I just finally thank you everyone for watching the movie. I'm really proud, and I'm really thankful to Sinead and Chloe for giving me a chance to be part of this beautiful project. It was a long project, but yes, I think the end result is worthwhile. I think it's really important through such documentary, we have this now, as we do, as I speak, we are engaged in this conversation. It's about Turkey, but it's also about, as Sinead has said, it's about international solidarity. It's just like we cannot, the borders are really meaningless in this age. So if something happens bad in a country, it just has an impact on elsewhere. We are very close. So solidarity and good results and positive vibes and the positive impact of all this women's struggle in Turkey would definitely have an impact, positive impact on another geography. It's just, as I said, it's beyond borders. This solidarity is beyond borders. So this documentary has really shows this and gives us an opportunity to talk and to discuss how we can do to inspire each other, basically. And if you're really successful, as Sinead said, to be able to ensure and give this opportunity for the people in Turkey to watch this movie, everyone would be able to pinpoint their problem, actually, that this is a systematic thing. This is the political. What they experience is not their only solid experience, sad experience in their solitude, in their homes, in their domestic lives, but it's part of this big picture. And pinpoint
it helps stops the shame as well.
Exactly. Just like when you put the name, when you realize that you're part of this big problem, actually, it gives you this freedom in a way. It just gives you a chance to name your problem, and then you have a better perspective to solve it, to at least to understand that you could reach out to other people experiencing the same problem as you do. And there are also NGOs like ours who could support you in your struggle. So I think it would be really inspirational for the local community as well. So I would say it has this international impact and also the local impact. So
yeah, to frame it, use the movie as a tool to start the conversation.
Exactly. It's the conversation is very important. And what I think, I sincerely believe that Chloe has managed to do in this movie is that to show this issue, to show this very fragile and very sad issue, not doing any of that violence pornography. So this is very rare, and this makes it such a valuable piece of work. So I think it gives you this sadness, but in a way it gives you the hope. So I think what the movie has tried to do is also a reflection of the situation in Turkey. So
yeah, I totally agree. Thank you, ladies, for this very important and warm conversation, and for all the work that you do. And I think I speak for the whole audience. I dare to say that. So thank you for making this, for your work. And let's start having that conversation continually with each other. Yes. Thank you. And everyone go follow Instagram, Dying to Divorce Film, right?
Dying to Divorce Film, yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.